All right, and welcome back to Primility Primer, your twice weekly reminder to practice keeping your pride and humility in balance so that you can better manage your emotions and make your next decision a better one. So in Monday's episode 83, which of course you can get to at primility.com/show/083, I dove deep into how Primility can be a tool for making better decisions. And I did this by breaking down the tagline that you just heard into its component parts and explaining each one. If you missed that episode, again, go to primility.com/show/083 and listen to it. I think it's important. It's really, I think, going to become a cornerstone episode for the study of Primility, and today's episode builds on it. Now, if you did listen to that episode, it may have made perfect sense, or it may have totally lost you. I know it made sense to many of you because you emailed me and you told me. And in fact, I got more emails about that episode than any other primer that I've ever done. So thank you. I really appreciate those. They make a huge difference in letting me know what resonates, what doesn't, what to do more of, what to do less of. So to all of you who emailed me, who commented, thank you very much. But I know that it probably didn't make sense to others of you. And I know that because I've talked with many people for whom the concept of balancing pride and humility does not make as much intuitive sense as it always has to me. And in fact, I married one of these people. And this is something that Heather and I will discuss often on our walks. And I'm really glad that she had the courage to admit to me that this general idea of balancing pride and humility didn't quite click for her, just wasn't clicking for her, because it has led to a much deeper understanding of Primility and how to explain it and how to teach it than I ever had before. Because it's completely okay if you feel like you don't, quote unquote, get it. We all bring different notions of pride and humility to the table based on our different experiences and the varying contexts in which we've interacted with the words before. So to me, just the way that I think, there's always been this straight line between pride and humility, and it's just made sense. And this line goes from excess on each end to balance in the middle, and it creates this spectrum that leads to simplified binary choices. And that's always been the benefit of Primility to me and to some of you. But to others, that spectrum doesn't exist quite so clearly. To you, pride and humility don't seem so diametrically opposite, perhaps. I mean, they're important, interesting concepts, but perhaps they don't exist on the same plane. Or if they do, the idea of balancing them seems obtuse or unremarkable. And that is what gratitude and empathy have got to do with it. And that's the title of today's Primility Primer episode. What do Primility and empathy have to do with it? Or what do gratitude and empathy have to do with it? Why have I been bringing up those words here in 2016 toward the end of the Primility Primer episodes that I was doing during that daily run back in 2015? That's what we're going to talk about today. Because what I've just said, the difference between how people are interacting with the idea of Primility, the difference in how people get it, this is why I've started incorporating more discussion of gratitude and empathy into the study of Primility. Because I found that while the idea of balancing pride and humility doesn't click with some people, the importance of gratitude and empathy clicks with most everyone. And since both gratitude and empathy require us to balance our pride and humility, whether we realize it or not, and I'm going to explain that in just a minute, each one is an alternate path to Primility, really a perfect gateway to the same end. So let's talk now about how gratitude and empathy require Primility. That may not be immediately obvious. And, I discussed this briefly in episode 82. Again, primility.com/show/082. But let's go over it again, especially how it relates to gratitude. Gratitude requires Primility, requires us to balance our pride and humility, because we have to balance our pride and humility to truly embrace what we are grateful for. It first requires the pride to recognize the many wonderful things in our lives that we're grateful for, achievements, blessings, gifts, abilities, relationships, etc. All those things that we're grateful for. And then it requires the humility to recognize the people, the opportunities, even the happenstance that combined with our own efforts have made all of those wonderful things possible. with just pride, we recognize all of these wonderful elements of our life, but we don't recognize the many, many people and circumstances responsible for them. And that is a recipe for arrogance and conceit. But with just humility, we may feel like we aren't achieving anything of note or maximizing the many gifts and blessings that we've been given. And that is a recipe for faded confidence, even meekness. But by balancing our pride in what we have and what we've been given with that humility that recognizes how much others have contributed to what we have, we enter a balanced state of gratitude where we understand what we are thankful for and take consistent action to express that in meaningful ways. And in episode 82, I described 3 meaningful ways that I'm trying to practice gratitude here in the new year, right? Writing about it in my journal every morning, doing a quick gratitude blessing, a non-religious gratitude blessing before we eat, consistently writing thank you notes, these meaningful ways of trying to practice gratitude on a daily basis, on a regular basis, because gratitude can deliver and does deliver many scientifically backed benefits, including feelings of well-being, even reduced depression. And so it's one of those perfect practices that deliver benefits to everyone involved, because obviously it delivers benefits to us as the people practicing the gratitude, the ones writing the thank you notes, the one thinking the grateful thoughts. But it's also going to bring benefits to the people that are on the receiving end of those, who do something nice for us and we reach out and thank them, and they feel good because that appreciation has been expressed. And that's why it's a win-win and it delivers benefits to everybody. So as you can see, gratitude, practicing gratitude puts you into a primility mindset. If you agree with me that you have to bring your pride and your humility into balance to be grateful, even subconsciously, right, to practice gratitude, then I hope you'll also agree that another benefit of gratitude is training your brain to work toward a state of simultaneous balanced pride and humility, which, as we discussed in episode 83, is our path to better managing our emotions and making our next decision a better one, which is the big idea here that we're going for. The same is true for empathy. Right? Now, empathy, if we want to define it, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And it, too, requires a balance of pride and humility. The humility element is easy to see because empathy is all about listening and about stepping outside of ourselves to engage in what another person is feeling. And yet, if we're driven by too much humbleness, we may feel like our effort to share in another person's feelings won't make a difference. We may feel so small as to be insignificant, whereas being empathetic with another person is among the most significant actions that humans have a capacity to take. Enter pride. Because while true empathy is about stepping into the shoes of another person, it isn't really about totally stepping out of ourselves. It's about bringing ourselves into that other person's shoes. Because without our own experiences and emotions to draw on, even if we have no direct parallel with what another person is feeling, we'll never be able to engage in a truly empathetic response. So we must have a certain sense of pride, a humble sense of pride, to be sure, in the value of our own experiences and in the impact that our actions of understanding can have. Because if we don't believe that our efforts to be empathetic will matter, we'll never care enough to do it. And this doesn't mean that balancing pride and humility will always give us the perfect words to say in every situation where empathy is called for. Frankly, sometimes the most empathetic action we can take is to say nothing, or even to not act like we totally understand, because we might not totally understand. And we would recognize this by remembering times when we didn't need or want words from someone else, but rather just an ear to listen, or perhaps a quiet shoulder to cry on. Not words, not judgment, not anything else. But that still makes an impact. That was still empathetic. And it gave us an experience to draw on for the future when we are called to empathy. So as with gratitude, getting into a mindset of empathy requires us to balance our pride and our humility. So even if we don't know it, practicing empathy is practicing primility. And that is what gratitude and empathy have to do with it. They are tools to help us live happier and more impactful lives, because they are tools that help us better manage our emotions so we can make our next decisions better ones, which makes them tools of Primility. So whether the idea of balancing pride and humility speaks to you or not, I hope that what this episode does is show you that A, you're not alone. If it speaks to you, you're not alone because it speaks to a lot of other people too. And if it doesn't speak to you, this idea of balancing pride and humility, you're not alone because there's a lot of people that doesn't make immediate sense to either. And it's okay. And I hope this episode lets you know that, and also lets you know that there are tools here for you to use that do make sense and that you can implement immediately. And that's what I want you to take away from this episode. Make today a day when you commit to practicing gratitude, or you commit to practicing empathy, or better yet, both. Because when you do, you'll also be practicing Primility. And you'll be making your daily life and the daily lives of those around you that much better. So now, let me kick it over to you. What is one specific way that you can practice gratitude or practice empathy today? Or for extra credit, both. But focus on just one if you need to, so that you can take some action with this. And think about it to yourself, talk about it with yourself, tell a friend, or if you want to, tell me, email me, jared@primility.com, JEROD@primility.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below on the show notes at primility.com/show/084. Or you can join the Facebook discussion group and talk about it with other Primility audience members there and people who are trying to put Primility more into their daily lives. And you can get to that Facebook group by going to primility.com/Facebook. Request access. I'll know that you heard about it on one of these episodes, and I'll let you in. And that is today's Primility Primer episode. But because it is Thursday, it leads us into kind of this new tradition that we're doing here. For a long time on Thursdays, I've been writing a thank you note and reading it, just kind of a way to lead by example, and hopefully encourage you to do the same. And then we have our gratitude gathering here as I'm recording this episode live on Blab. And as soon as I read this thank you note, I will stop reading today's episode, and hopefully there are people there who want to gather in some gratitude and talk about what they're grateful for. So think about that right now. And if you're just listening on the podcast and you're not with us live, you can still participate and certainly think of all these thoughts of gratitude yourself. But I do want to get to my thank you note for today. And kind of an interesting story behind this one. You know, I had a dentist appointment a couple of weeks ago, and the dental hygienist who does my cleanings is named Rebecca. She's really friendly. We get along well. We often end up discussing the latest TV shows that we're into with our respective spouses. And during my last cleaning, we got on this subject of how dentists have one of the highest suicide rates of any profession. I think they oscillate back and forth between 1 and 2 with air traffic controllers. I know it's not the happiest of subjects, but I inquired as to why that is. And her answer kind of surprised me. She explained that while many of their patients are great, and she went out of her way to talk about how great so many of their patients are, there seems to be this subset of dental patients that just are not very kind and are generally unappreciative of the positive impact that the dental work is having on their lives. So what that does is it means that there's very rarely something as simple as a thank you. And I asked her how that compared to, say, a heart surgeon, right? You know, because you often hear about how doctors and surgeons often have high suicide rates as well. And, you know, and you think because of the extreme stress, the pressure, you know, a heart surgeon, a brain surgeon, people performing these surgeries that, you know, carry really heavy risk. And she said that the difference is that when those surgeries go well, the patients are just effusive in their praise and appreciation and their thank yous. I mean, that surgery may have saved their life. So, of course, the patients are just ecstatic. And that praise, that appreciation can help to balance out the negative impact of the pressure and the devastating experiences of those surgeries maybe going poorly, or just the general pressure that those surgeons have to deal with on a daily basis. It's not to minimize that, but just to highlight a difference, because that appreciation can go a long way. And it made me realize that, you know, many of us, probably certainly me included, you know, kind of see going to the dentist a lot of times as more of a burden. And our goals are more to kind of maintain the status quo and avoid major problems. So we may overlook the benefits that we actually receive by going regularly. And so I decided that I would write the crew at my dentist's office a thank you note, because I actually went several years without visiting a dentist in my 20s, in my immature, ignorant 20s. And so I had a lot of damage to undo once I finally did go. And the team at Dr. Seeley's office, where I go here in Dallas, has done a wonderful job of getting my oral hygiene back in order. And they give me a pleasant experience every time I go. And I'd never thought about the impact that a thank you note could have on a dentist or a team of dentists when they don't get them very often. And so I hope that perhaps by sending this note, it can just brighten up a moment in their days and let them know that I represent just one of their patients, but surely my thoughts will represent many of their patients in being appreciative of their work. And so here is the thank you note that I'm sending to them. Dear Dr. Seeley, Rebecca, and Madeline, she is the receptionist and does a wonderful job. You know what's great is she does a wonderful job of keeping you on schedule for your appointments, because I would forget. But Madeline keeps me on schedule for the appointments, which is great. So when I came into your office for the first time a few years back on Matt's recommendation, it had been far too long since I had visited a dentist. As you may recall, there was plenty of damage to be undone. So I just wanted to say thank you for helping me undo that damage and get my oral hygiene back on track, and for not making me feel bad about my dental negligence. Smiley face. I always enjoy my visits and look forward to coming. You have a special team, and I'm very happy to be your patient. Thank you. Jared Morris. So nothing long, short, simple, hopefully sweet, and just something to say thank you. So let me turn my attention over here to Blab. We've got a couple people in the audience. If anybody there, that's sweet. Thank you very much. So what we do here, if this is your first time here on Thursdays, is it's called a gratitude gathering. And so after I do this live recording of the Primility Primer episode, which will then be posted as a podcast, we talk about what we're grateful for. And we had, some people here last week. So I don't know exactly how to pronounce your name. Wafa Habab. Do you want to let us know anything that you're grateful for? And actually, if you want to come on, Wafa, if you want to come on, you're welcome to actually come on here with me and we can talk. But it's just a time to talk about what we're grateful for. For me, obviously feeling some gratitude to my dentist today. That's why I wanted to write them that thank you note. But if you have anything to share, we can go over that as well. And remember, this is new, not expecting a lot of people to be here for these early episodes, but every Thursday morning, 8 o'clock Central Time, we go live. You can go to primility.com/live to get the link or to watch the embedded video, or you can follow me on blab.im and get a notification when we go live. We'll be doing this every Thursday, this live recording, this gratitude gathering. And so I do hope that that people will start to join. All right, well, let's bring Wafa on here. And let's have a chat. Are you there, Wafa?
Hi.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
So what are you feeling grateful for today?
Today, it's like the end of the day today.
Oh, where are you located? Where are you calling in from?
I'm at Saudi. I'm in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, in Saudi Arabia. Okay, very cool. Very cool.
I'm Mauritanian.
Say that again?
Mauritanian.
Okay. And what are you feeling grateful for today?
Today I'm actually feeling grateful for being with my family the whole day.
Yeah. Did you do anything special with your family? Was it a special day that you were with them, or are you able to be with them on most days?
Not most days, but like today we actually had breakfast and lunch, and it's almost now dinner, so I will be having all meals with them.
Very nice. So that's something to be grateful for, being able to see your family and spend time with them. That's wonderful. That is very cool. What are you having for dinner? Anything special?
We're actually having couscous.
Oh, couscous. Very nice.
We're African people. So.
Very, very nice. Well, thank you for coming on. Was this your first time listening to a Primility episode?
It's actually the first time I'm joining the Blab.
Oh, it's your first time ever on Blab. Very cool. Very cool. What'd you say?
Being actually in I call.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did. It's wonderful talking to you. Again, we try and do this every Thursday right around the same time, and just celebrate what we're grateful for, whether it's our dentist, whether it's being able to spend the day with your family. That's wonderful. So thank you, Wafa, for coming on and talking with me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Well, hopefully you'll join us next Thursday.
For sure.
Okay. I'll talk to you then, Wafa.
Thank you.
All right. Very cool. So that is the first person who has called in on a gratitude gathering here in this the new Primility Primer episodes of 2016. Very fun. And I hope that maybe next Thursday you will join me, call in just like Wafa did today, and just as simple as that, something that you're grateful for. Whether it's spending time with your family, anything else, that's what we want to do here on Thursdays. So thank you for joining me on this blab session. Thank you for listening on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back Monday with another brand new episode of Primility Primer. And until then, stay cognizant of keeping your pride and your humility in balance. Keep practicing gratitude and empathy. And that way you can better manage your decision, better manage your emotions so that you can make your next decision a better one. I'll talk to you on Monday. Respond.